and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't covering my cloth, they tugging. Putting up numbers, 99 problems, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, boo, play, boo, play, boo, play. Who don't play, boo, play, boo, play.
What is up, Buff Nation? Okay, see you open the season again with more passing yards than they had rushing. Now, typically, you want to have a balanced attack, but there was considerably, like last season versus TCU, where Shedeur threw for 510 yards on 55 yards rushing for the team for 4 quarters. Now, Coach Prime was asked during his presser about the running game, and he said that he was only taking what NDSU was giving them offensively. So, not to be overly concerned, but stick a pin in it for now. If this continues at Nebraska, then we may have some issues with their rushing game moving forward. Now, I'd like to say that when you have the first game, there's a lot of mystery in terms of what teams are going to run because you don't have a lot of film on anybody. So keep that in mind when you look at this first game. They open with a formidable FCS opponent, North Dakota State. This was not the game. This was not a game. So when you look at other programs, other Power 5 programs in the country, who they open with, Western Kentucky, Arkansas Pine Bluff, the NDSU was not either of those teams. So when you look back at this game toward the end of the season, I think we're going to be proud to see NDSU's record as they compete in their conferences, because again, strength of schedule and team record is going to play a factor into the bowl picture in terms of allowing some additional teams into the playoff system. Let's look at the highlights of this game, and then we're going to look at a few lowlights of this game. Let's start with the highlights. Obviously, the dub. Offensively, the O-line looked really, really good. I don't think there were as many sacks averaged in terms of per game. This game was, and this obviously is just the opener, mind you, but you know the line is going to get better. You know, as they see more fronts and schemes, you know they're just going to get better. But I like the way they looked. Shedeur seemed to be comfortable. Even on that one scramble where he threw to LeJontay Wester after escaping the rush and then planting his feet again to set for a throw downfield, which kept the chains moving. Shedeur was comfortable enough with that play because he knew that the people in front of him, and in case on this run play behind him, would give him the time to make that play. So he has much more confidence in the line that's in front of him this season, and I look forward to that line improving over the course of the season. Jimmy Horn, who seemed to have struggled with the catching and last season, started off fabulously. This season. Obviously, Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter. I mean, we know we have become accustomed what to expect from him. But Horn, we need that. Colorado needs that type of productivity from Horn. Now you have 2 wide receivers that teams must focus on, which takes the safety out of the box, which is why there was probably more passing than running in this game. Now, obviously, you want to be able to run when you need to. That's going to be key. But statistically and schematically, I'll go with Coach Prime's assessment on taking what NDSU's defense was giving them. One more highlight, the defense. The defense did a much better job. Last year against TCU, they gave up over 260 yards of rushing, and that's just on the ground. This season, they gave up a little under 170 yards of rushing, which was not great, but for an opener, not knowing what you're going to see from your opponent, I thought it was a decent start. They're going to improve as they learn the schemes that I think it's Coach Livingston, the DC Coach Livingston is challenging them with week to week. Obviously, you want to put in a scheme that everyone is capable of executing, but there were times in the game, and I'm repeating Coach Prime, where players were not reading their keys and they were missing. There were some missed assignments. I was impressed by the TFLs to open the season that they had. I don't think there were many TFLs last season. I know there were some sacks in that TCU game, but there weren't a lot of TFLs in the running game. So I thought this was a good start offensively and defensively. They're a better team. They do have more talent. So I look to this talent improving and look forward to seeing what's going to happen the rest of the season. Now, the lowlights of the game, which weren't many. Coach Prime pointed out to the last play of the game, but I probably should have made this a highlight. Forgive me for missing out on this point in the highlight, but I want to touch on one more highlight if you just bear with me. CU gave up 20 points in the first half. Halftime score 2017. And they only gave up 6 points in the second half, the entire second half. And that touchdown was with 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go left in the fourth quarter. So while it appeared as though the defense, which at halftime made some marvelous adjustments, they made marvelous adjustments compared to what they were doing last season. I love the halftime adjustments. I love it. I was going back and forth messaging with a friend online. He was criticizing CU. I say, well, let's see what type of halftime adjustments they make, and they made great halftime adjustments. They only gave up 6 points, people. I mean, you have to start somewhere. You have to start with something to work with also. So this game, the game film from this is going to be reviewed, is going to be assessed, and people are going to get better from that. They have to get better. If they plan on making the playoffs this season, which is Coach Prime's goal of making the playoffs, they have to get better. Yeah, so they only gave up 6 points in the second half. Now, you can look at the yards and quibble about how many yards total that was, but they were a bend but not break defense. Now officially moving on to the lowlights. There were 3 penalties in this game. One was a hands to the face. That was a judgment call by the officials. I think when you look at that replay, you will see that defensive lineman for Colorado had his hands on the shoulder pad of the NDSU offensive lineman, and he was pushing up as he was trying to get upfield. He pushed the pad up to the chin. It wasn't his hands between the shoulder pad and the face mask, which is your ideal call for that play, but looking from a distance, it appeared as though it was a direct hands to the face in the judgment of the officials. So I don't fault that kid for his technique on that play. That was just a judgment call, a 50-50 judgment call on that play, and Colorado got the penalty. Now, the other 2 penalties, which extended drives. Lining up in the neutral zone is within your control. That's a control. That's something within your control. You have, if you could. I always learn, because I played a little defense while I had my brief stint in college football, that if you can see the ball, you're offsides. When you line up, you look down inside. If you can see the ball, you're offsides. I did that numerous times in our spring game at Texas Southern University, and Coach got on me about that. So it happens, people. It's the first game of the season. You're excited about playing. It's a rush down. You want to get upfield as quickly as possible. But moving forward, that is a play within your control. The other play, Shiloh Sanders hitting late on a play, hitting a defenseless receiver on a play, that is within your control. Shiloh I know he's a much smarter kid than that. He's a much better player than that. This team thrives on discipline, and that was just one play that got away from him mentally. But I expect him to clean that up the rest of the season. There was a lot of plays on the sidelines that looked 50-50. I know he was pushing those running backs and receivers out of bounds when he made plays along the boundary. Now, he needs to be careful with that. because I think as they move into the Big 12, there may be a little less tolerance for that. So I hope when they look at the film this week, they will coach that out of him, because I don't think they're going to get that call, and they don't need to extend drives. NDSU is a good team, people. Like as I was explaining to a friend on while we were messaging back and forth during the game, this is a good team. They don't need help. You can't give good teams help. And that's what CU did in this game. If you look at those two penalties, I think defensively and offensively, which complements the defense, this would have been a much different game. Probably would have covered. They probably would. If they don't have those two penalties, I say 10-1, they cover the spread, the 9.5 point spread for that game, because those two penalties were momentum. If you look at you look at NDSU taking a field goal, let's say in both of those instances, the halftime score would have been, if those two plays ended in field goals, you have a 17 CU to 13 NDSU at halftime. And they're still going to make the halftime adjustment by giving up only one touchdown. So you're looking at a 31-19, because they would probably go for the 2 at the end. 31-19 game final. But when you give good teams extra plays, extra opportunities, Cam Miller, and this is another thing to keep in mind, they're going to play veteran teams with veteran they're going to play teams with veteran quarterbacks. Those are going to be the difficult games for the defense. That's where reading your keys, staying assignment sound is going to be key for the defense moving forward. Cameron Silman-Craig went down early. I saw that. Well, I didn't see the total play, but I know when he tried to come to his feet, he wobbled. I said, oh, that doesn't look good. And obviously, the referees caught it. Somebody upstairs caught it, because they got him off the field, and he was not able to play the rest of that game. So again, missing Craig that early in the game obviously had an impact. We don't know what type of impact. Will he be back next week? At least the person who replaced him this game will have more reps, because he came in ice cold, borderline cold turkey to start that game. But I'm going to wrap it up. Hey, I hope you all enjoyed the game. Yes, it was a nail biter toward the end. Probably great for the networks and viewership. But let's look forward to Nebraska and see how CU's prepared for their first road game of the season. Let's go, Buffs. CU.
It translates in practice. I don't say stuff just to say it for a click, contrary to what some may say. But, I keep receipts. But I'm serious. I analyze and I understand what we're up against and what we have and what we need. One thing that I could say honestly and candidly, you better get me right now. This is the worst we're going to be. You better get me right now.